Blog Talk Radio.
Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
And I saw this guy, Ron Paul. He's my new hero.
There's very specific, strong reasons to support Ron Paul.
Ron Paul's baseline is the Constitution, unlike any other candidate.
Ron Paul is the candidate of freedom.
Truth and principle. I mean, he's always been right on the issues, and he's a very candid and honest individual.
Classic conservatism.
I think the closest, candidly, is probably Ron Paul.
Pro-stock market candidate, Ron Paul.
This man brings together people of all races, all socioeconomic backgrounds, all political affiliations, because freedom is truth, and truth is power, and we can live and be free in this country if we believe we can.
I'm Ron Paul. I'm a congressman from Texas. I am the champion of the Constitution.
Truth of your world government has now been exposed. You are not our queens. You are not our kings. You are not our gods. We do not belong to you. We are not your slaves. We stand as free humans, have stood since the beginning of time against the strong men, against the thugs, against the bullies. We will defeat your world government. You will and you are failing now. Your new world order will fall. Humanity will defeat you. The answer to 1984 is 1776.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
Everybody there in Radio Land. This is the Sonny Thomas Show here on the Truth Emerges Radio Network, and it's my first gig on this network, so I'm looking forward to the learning experience as well as giving you as much information as possible what's going on out there in the real world. Not just what's happening in the political world, but also life, the music world, and other good things. So there's a lot of cool stuff you'll be able to check out. Just a little bit of background on me real fast. I did radio years ago in high school. Did college formatted high school channel, and we also reported on music to CMJ Magazine each week. I did a metal show, and I also was the program director of the radio station back in those days. So I got a lot of direct experience on how general radio works, as well as music promotion and things of that nature. I've been a lifelong music lover most of my life, and for the most part, I've really supported a lot of local bands, artists, and all different genres, and put together really great shows and try to really get people to see what's all out there. So I think that's really good and really good fun to do with, because of the fact there's so much talent out there. For example, in the Dayton, Ohio area, what I really like about this particular area is the fact that name the genre, somebody plays it. Name the most obscure instrument that you could think of, and someone probably plays it. So I think that's what really makes the Miami Valley so unique in that perspective. So there's all different types of music, all different types of genres, all different types of personalities you can come across. You could be metalheads, you could be into Celtic music, you could be into rap, you could be in R&B or blues. It doesn't matter, because there's always a lot of good talent out there. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about a lot of good stuff here as time goes on. And I'm looking forward to a really, really good show as we really start to expand out the format. Now I've got some basic ideas on how exactly I'm going to do this. I just haven't actually totally figured out everything technically yet, but I'm a fast learner. So, but obviously, as you heard my intro there, some very good points about Ron Paul and why he woke up a lot of people here in this network and made us all more aware and awake, and of course have crossed all sorts of political lines and met people from different political stripes of all different flavors and types. I mean, for example, when I went to the march in D.C. with Ron Paul back in 2008, I was hobnobbing with liberals from Michigan. That's almost like a Southerner hanging with a Yankee in that particular regard, because Michiganders and Ohioans just don't really get along too well. And it isn't just because of Buckeyes and Wolverine games either. So I think that's some pretty good stuff to look at as far as perspective. Just like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was probably one of the few artists, if not the artist, that actually broke across more boundaries and touched more lives with the small amount of music as he recorded than any other popular artist in pop music history. Because we never saw him as a black man. We saw him as an entertainer first. And, of course, obviously his skin pigmentation changed over time, and his nose changed and his look changed, but so what? So Madonna changes all the time. Does that make it any different? But you realize when one of the great ones like Michael Jackson is gone, you can really feel the absence of the present. So I think that's something that really matters there. So hopefully you can check out what's going on here on Blog Talk Radio /Truth Emerges, websites that you can follow me on in this particular show here. Follow me on Twitter at Sonny Thomas Show, my more active Twitter that I use to most of my political things at Springboro T. Also check out CFCC Ohio, and the respective websites are sonnythomas.com, springboroteaparty.com, cfcc.ohio, sorry, let me say it again, cfccohio.org, and my music website, the H.M.D. Music Resource Guide, and that's THEHMD.com. So you can find all the respective Twitter and YouTube links there and all sorts of cool stuff. So I'm going to go on for a few minutes here, and I'm going to bring on some of my guests. There's plenty of other shows on this network that you might want to check out as well, so don't just tune in on Thursdays, listen to me. Listen to plenty of the others, because of the fact that you will hear a lot of information and a lot of very interesting guests that you will probably not find anywhere else, sure as hell not on mainstream media. So that is definitely something you want to look out for and want to bring to your attention. So I have a few callers that are already popping up on this first show, so go hit with 720 first. Liberty Lisa, you're on, baby.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. What say you?
Well, welcome to Truth Emerges Network. I'm so proud to have you be a part of this.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad you and Austin definitely think of me highly enough to have my own show on here, because the fact that there's definitely a lot of things I'll be covering and talking about as time goes on, especially as I get really comfortable with the format. I'm generally planning on breaking it down probably in each hour to focus on one or two particular topics per hour, and then move on to new ones the next one. So I think it's going to be a blast.
Yeah. So what's the topic of discussion today?
Well, a couple of things. Besides kind of get a little bit of background on myself, a little intro, I was kind of reviewing some stories, and one of the things that I find totally egregious is there are certain parts of the justice system that are designed to totally ostracize people. For example, one of the proposals that I had put together a while back and was actually approaching my local county sheriff was the fact that, first of all, I find it totally egregious that, especially the state of Ohio, since they have expanded to 6 months, if you're behind on child support, that you get thrown in the clink if you don't make a payment. Well, you know, this economy is so crappy right now, it's hard to find anything solid. At the same time, once you get thrown in there, dude, it's automatically, it's now listed as a felon. So that puts a big scarlet letter on somebody to possibly commit crime, because of the fact that they won't be able to get a fair chance of getting a job. Not to mention the expungement laws in Ohio have been watered down so much over the last 10 years. The simple fact that no violent crimes can be expunged. So let's say you had a situation when you're like 19, 20 years old, you know, you're young and stupid, and you obviously do something and get caught with it, okay? You're not the same person at 40 that you were at 20. That's called maturity. At least most of us practice that. And hopefully if you learn something in 20 years besides still sticking your finger over your lips going dee, because I know some people are still like that. But I think they definitely need to restore the expungement laws so that people can have a chance to have a fresh start. No different than in college. If you start to screw up and you come back a couple years later and want to go back again, there's a lot of community colleges that have a fresh start program, so that way you can start over and focus on new skills. Again, when you go back to college as an adult, you have more fire in the belly and you want to actually do something with yourself. You don't want to be dibbing around in the woods. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm with you on that for sure. So who's the other caller that's on hold?
We got a couple here. I think I see a 702 number. I think it's a guy after my own namesake. Mr. Austin Thomas, are you there?
Sonny Thomas. I want to welcome you to Truth Emerges Network. Think you're going to be doing some good things here, young man.
I definitely think so.
I'm
a consummate promoter.
Going back,
go ahead.
I was going to say, go back to what you brought up about child support. Yeah, this is a tough economy. You throw someone in jail for child support, you know, how in the hell are they going to work in jail and support that child that you're jailing them for support for?
Well, not only that, but you know, here's something else to look at, too, that I also brought up. I know some of these guys that get stuck in the clink for at least, 60, 90 days, if not longer. Now, one of the things that I observed was the simple fact that you should be able to, many of these guys that wind up in there are not accomplished. In other words, they didn't finish high school for whatever way, shape, or form, and they don't have their, as my buddy would affectionately call it, their good enough diploma, a.k.a. GED. So here's my question, is if you know you're going to be in there more than 30 days, you should have the option of being able to take your GED test while you're in there. Recently, Channel 7 News here in Dayton had mentioned the fact that people that had taken the GED test while they were incarcerated, after they got out, they had an 85% drop in return rate because of the fact that obviously these guys were able to do something. Because the biggest problem that I see is that temporary agencies are oftentimes used as headhunters, and so the problem that you have with that is that they'll kind of use a temporary agency as a pre-screener to see what it's all about, and then even if you, depending on the temporary agency, scrutinous background check of the agency, there's no guarantee that the host client is still going to hire you or even accept you for the temporary shift. I've seen many cases where literally they say, well, we got a 90-day probationary period, 89th day, you're out the door. So they're essentially have turned us into indentured servants, and I think that's totally wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more about you know, getting people to go to jail and making money off of human cattle than it is about any sort of justice or logical sense. That seems to be the way the system is set up, you know. Who cares about what makes sense? Who cares about what's effective? Who cares about what's best for the family?
Right, well, here's the thing. You want to try to have every member of your workforce that can be employed, or I should say employable, be employed. Because of the simple fact that I know a young man that I met a few years ago who was actually was going to speak at my rally last year. He was 18. His girlfriend was like a couple days away from 16. Mom found out about it and busted him for statutory. Now, fortunately, this young gentleman has now basically arrested himself as a sex offender, and he got to the point where he couldn't go anywhere. He couldn't stay with his mother because of the fact that she threatened the risk of getting kicked out of the apartment complex that she was in. Couldn't stay with the grandmother. She started getting dementia, so she couldn't remember details to report to the sheriff's department how long he's been there or if he's been there. He told me he ended up sleeping under several bridges for a couple months at a time. And matter of fact, I remember one time just kind of meandering around that same bridge years ago. I think I may have come across his bedroll. So I just so happened to met this guy on accident. I was at a McDonald's talking to a guy from the John Birch Society, and afterwards he came up and talked to me and says, hey, man, I see you're obviously somewhat politically aware. Can I talk to you? And I said, sure. He told me his story, and I'm like, holy shit, you know, I'm just like really floored that this guy had to go through this. But I think through some of it, though, it's been through some perseverance, and he's managed to start fighting back the system and basically start getting the county sheriff's department to quit harassing him, and he's actually managed to somewhat maintain his own domicile as well as employment. But again, he's got to live with that the rest of his life. I think that's totally wrong.
Yeah, well, that's a tricky wicket when you've got 18-year-olds having sex with someone who's under 16 years old. You've got different states with different ages of consent and different variances. Some states, if there's 2-3 years variance, they'll let it slide. But yeah, unfortunately, that's a tricky wicket. I mean, me being, you know, against government intrusion and things of that nature, that part of me says that they should stay out of their business. But I don't want 40-year-old men having sex with 13-year-old girls. I don't think that's right either.
Oh, fear not, Austin. NAMBLA is all about that. You know what the American Man Love Boy Association? They are all about making sure that if you're some sick pedophile, that you can get a hold of yourself of a nice, ripe 12-year-old boy. I mean, I can't believe an organization like this is not listed on an SPLC's watch list or some other quote-unquote watchdog groups. You know, they claim that they're watching stuff. What they're really watching is patriotic people that are saying, you know what, I've had enough of the BS, and I'm standing up and saying something about it. I remember Lisa saying one day, if I haven't made the SPLC watch list, I'm not doing a good enough job.
Right. Isn't that the truth? Yeah, they like watching me. I know they're watching what I do. Or listening.
I think they're watching Truth Emerges.
Good, I get something to listen to. So that's for sure. Well, a couple of things we're going to do on my show here is we're going to be covering a lot of different topics like geopolitics, what's going on, trying to get past the left-right paradigm, exposing the New World Order for what it is, and trying to wake people the hell up. I'm starting to see people starting to wake up in my community, for example, on the issue of fluoride in the water, because of the fact that when you go into a Kroger, you go into the water section, you see that the distilled water is just as plentiful, if not more plentiful, than the drinking and spring water bottles. So, and I know people aren't using that many steam irons to iron clothes. They're obviously drinking it. And I've talked to several of these people. Most of them are obviously the mothers who do the majority of the shopping, and they say that, yeah, we buy it and we drink it. Now, we do have a water treatment plant here in Springboro, which is not a very large city. We've got about 10,000 people here. And we're like a fourth-tier suburb of the Dayton area, more or less, whereas Bellbrook is probably more of a fifth-tier suburb. But you're still getting a lot of water from the core city. So recently, a few years ago, We Are Change Ohio had featured 3 students from Wayne High School up in Huber Heights, which is just north of Dayton area, and they had effectively shown enough evidence and information to convince the Huber Heights City Council that fluoride is a poison, that the city water is toxic, and that there are many other metals and chemicals within the water that are obviously not hospitable to human consumption. Fortunately, they definitely agreed, but they said we can't do anything about it because it's mandated by the state. At least we know where the dragon is. But they did a basic resolution to basically acknowledge that we agree with your research and that if we had the power, we would basically have fluoride taken out of the water. So that is a very, very successful thing to see. And you can go look at wearechangeohio.org and see that video for yourself, the YouTube link. So I think there's 4 of them for 15 minutes each. So we won a battle there, and I think we can win more as we get more people to wake up and understand the dangers of fluoride and chlorine and all the other nastiness in the water. Do you guys have any extra words of wisdom? I got another caller coming in. I'm going to focus on them. You guys got any last plugs or any other comments you'd like to bestow?
Oh, we just wanted to come on the show and give you some moral support. So, you know, we'll be listening in.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. You, Austin?
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Don't get Lisa going on fluoride. Oh my.
Actually, that's what woke me up in the first place, and it's definitely a passion of mine. But unfortunately, right now, all my energies are, diverted into the fighting mortgage fraud right now. So, we're going to have to return to that issue, and my goal is to eventually get that handled here in Denver, Colorado. I'd like to see that taken out of the water.
Yeah, and I want to give props to Lee the Mouth Pierre from Last Voice for Liberty and the Friday Night Super Show here on the network, Truth Emerges Network, too. He's been battling in Iowa and in Des Moines area about fluoride in the water, too.
Start somewhere, so we have to really start raising awareness to people, at least get them to stop drinking the water, and then start finding alternate ways. I've seen a couple different ways myself. If you can't afford yourself like a Berkey water filter, for example, Kroger, for example, actually offers reverse osmosis water fairly cheap. If you buy the plastic jugs that they sell, they're like $1.38 jug initially, and then you fill up your jug, and then when you bring it back, they have a yellow sticker they put on the barcode, and it's like 39 cents a refill, which is still cheaper than the distilled water jugs, which run about 89 cents a jug. And so I noticed just from drinking more of the reverse osmosis water, not only by developing a taste for it, but you could instantly tell a difference between city water and that particular format. It's just night and day. Also look at maybe getting various shower filters and things of that nature. I bought the Crystal Quest off the InfoWars thing and installed it, and instantly, the first shower I jumped in, I could feel an automatic difference. The water just doesn't feel like it's got a bunch of heaviness in it. I noticed it in my hair. It's actually more manageable because it doesn't have a layer of gook on it. And not to mention, now the one drawback of that Crystal Quest, I will say, is that it does siphon a little bit more hot water out. The cool thing is you don't have to turn it on as full blast as much to get the power from it. You can turn it down very low stream, and you'll still get a full stream shower out of it. So regardless of the water flow you're pushing out, depending on your water tank size, you're still looking at maybe a 15-minute shower before it starts getting cold. So that's just my observations, but I would definitely recommend people go and get yourself some good filtered shower heads such as that, and try to keep that nastiness, because your skin is the largest organ in your body, and you want to make sure that you're not absorbing all this nastiness that's in the local tap water. So definitely a must. All right, well, Austin, I'm going to say thanks for coming on, and I'm going to go through a list of goodies here and talk about some good bands too. So you got last words before I let you go?
Hello? Just do what you do, brother. Have fun with it. Roll with it. You're going to be awesome.
Yep.
Right.
I just wanted to add one thing on the fluoride front. Just by changing the water I was drinking and getting off the tap water and not using toothpaste any longer with the fluoride in it, and switching to organic foods. Just those three things. And I had arthritis in my knees that went away, and it took about 3 months. So for those of the listeners out there who have arthritis, there is hope to reverse it. Your bones can reverse, your muscles, your skin, all of it regrows. But just stop ingesting that toxin.
Well, that's good too, because I want to bring up also the milk situation, because recently one of the March Against Monsanto groups we have here in Dayton had actually sent a request in a letter to Kroger to see if the organic milk that they're selling is truly organic. And surprisingly, they responded fairly quickly, and they listed the exact details about the organic milk, that it was all pasture-fed cows, not solitary confinement containment cows, and they're all fed real grass. And then if not, they're on a specific diet that they substitute, not eating like whatever nastiness they give. I don't know if it's soy or something else, but they make sure to try to rotate their grass stock as well. So they're actually, it's like a real, just short of actual raw milk. So at least it's a step. I've noticed since I've been drinking now for about a year, to me it's worth an extra $1.50. So I would recommend, if you go to the Kroger grocery store chains, get the organic milk, and try to get that as much as possible, because that homogenized stuff is exactly what it is. You want to be homogenized? I don't think so. So I definitely recommend getting that. If you do have access to raw milk, get it. Here in the Dayton area, there's Liberty Market of Kettering. Shout out to Dave Davis there. You can get some raw milk set up there through that little store on Patterson Road, and you should be able to satisfy your natural country desire. There's a reason why Hank Williams Jr. says country folks can survive, because they don't eat all the high fructose corn syrup and BS that we eat here in the city. That's why they're such tough SOBs. So I think they'll do just fine, if you ask me. All right, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and take off here. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about some politics, and I'm gonna go start also talking about some good kick-ass bands. So I will catch you all on the flip side.
All right.
Thanks again for calling in. Okay, that's Liberty Lisa and Austin Thomas from the Truth Train and Guerrilla Talk Radio. And it's always good to have them chime in and have some good stuff there, because I always enjoy the topics, and they've always had some really good guests. So I've always if you definitely take the time to listen to the program, you will learn something. That's what it's all about. Okay, so now we're in the 9:30 hour here, Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 Pacific, and feel free to call in. And we'll try to get to you as soon as possible, but I've definitely got some interesting topics I'm going to bring up, as well as, again, talk about some local bands, so we're definitely going to have a good time. If you want to call, the number is 347-855-8301. Click 1 to talk to me, and I'll try to get you on within a minute or so after I see you pop up on the line here. One of the things we wanted to talk about was recently, as a member of the Council of Conservative Citizens, we had a board meeting in Nashville back in November. And recently I had been attacked on the March Against Monsanto local board for being a racist. Well, that's actually really funny. But, you know, people, I understand, when it comes to race issues, are very ignorant of the topic. But at the same time, I remember back in high school when political correctness was just starting to become trendy. Now, when you understand the origin of political correctness, which is critical theory, you start to understand exactly how the left go about attacking you and try to basically literally pick words out of your very speech that you try to say and use them against you. I've had a number of the local school board here who we recently had a very conservative majority and really wreaked some good havoc on the school system and brought out some really good viability. Shout out to Dr. Kelly Coles, the former school board president. She really, when she originally ran on a platform, she wanted to know exactly where the hell the money was going, because at the time we had a $24 million deficit. And we're trying to figure out what the heck is going on here. Next thing you know, we started doing pay for play, which means you had to, if you wanted to play in a football sport, it cost you X amount of hundreds of dollars per sport. Certain staff were getting furloughed. Just they had to cut costs every way, shape, or form. Kelly Coles ran on a conservative fiscal platform, basically saying, I'm going to go in and find out what the hell was going on. And she did. Immediately upon her getting sworn in, they whisked her away to a little weekend thing with the Ohio School Board Association and basically told her in so many words, if not outright, of course, that her job as a good school board member was to be a cheerleader for any school levies that come on, to do whatever the superintendent tells them to do, and to not ask very many questions. Well, that's against everything in Kelly's program. Hell yes, she's going to start asking questions. Every time she goes, hey, where's the money going? Don't worry about it. Where's the money going? Don't worry about it. Where is the money going? And when they realized that she was undaunted and wasn't going to stop, they had to start acknowledging her, which was great. She finally started finding out where the money was going. In her first part of her tenure, she outlasted 3 school board supervisors, 2 Treasury secretaries, and at least one other board member. So I think she did a fantastic job. And then they started attacking her for various things, such as, oh, Kelly Coles wants to put creationism in the school system. That's not exactly what she did at all. She's talking about, when you're talking about discussions, especially in science class, that you should have a well-rounded discussion. In other words, if I'm just telling you one way, and let's just say it's the science way, let's call it what it is, indoctrination. When you have, say, okay, 2 or 3 or 4 or more points of view, that's called a discussion, which leads to research, which leads to learning, true learning. So next thing you want to go in there and start seeing what the teachers are doing. Start looking for syllabuses. Send requests in for their course of study and see how close they're following it. See how much they deviate from the source. Ask them books that they want them to read. Is it on the syllabus? You want to make sure that you know all this stuff. Recently, Kelly had also brought up a very interesting book that one of her daughter's teachers was making them read over the summer, called The History of the United States by Howard Zinn, which is a complete communist Marxist book. Anti-military, anti-Americana, you name it. And just within the first few chapters of it, was so egregious that actually really disturbed her daughter. And actually, not too long ago, Kelly was featured on a big Common Core forum in Austin, Texas, with Glenn Beck, and she was one of the last speakers to speak, and was able to talk about that story about her daughter. Now, Kelly is actually one of the main authorities about Common Core in the state of Ohio, and she spends a lot of her free time driving all across the state, speaking at school board meetings and school halls and town halls whenever she's requested, to educate people on Common Core, as well as how to recruit people for the school board so they can start doing some of the same effects that she did. The results of her tenure, we went from a $24 million deficit to initially a $6 million surplus, and as of the time that she actually left office earlier this year, it was up to a $10 million surplus. She's also, her as well as Jim Regano and David Petroni, the conservative majority at the time, were able to hammer out a well-oiled teacher contract and benefit package, even though against mass protests and discussions, sheer attrition, and to attack them in any way, shape, or form to get them to hurry past this damn thing. Well, you know, haste makes waste, right? Well, so one of the things you want to look at is they looked at every angle, every possible rivet that you could stick into the steel girder, and they made sure it was honed to perfection, and it worked. Actually, the teachers ended up getting a 2 to 3% pay raise out of it. They also got a couple of the perks. I don't have the whole thing in front of me. I'm just going reciting from memory. People weren't laid off. Busing was restored. Most of the sports that you expected were restored that weren't necessarily pay to play. Many other things. So yet, and then to top it off, the jewel crown of her tenure was the fact that you're able to have a renewal levy, and it was actually with the included a rollback to the taxpayer. I think if I remember, it was like it was about 15% over a 5-year period or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but even the Dayton Daily News admitted they couldn't find anybody that was against the levy, especially with a rollback in it, especially in this economy with that SOB we got as the resident in the White House. I mean, every time this guy opens his frickin' mouth, man, the stock market drops 5 or 6 points, and then the next thing you know, it starts hammering jobs in a matter of days. I've never seen anything like it, man. This guy's the complete antithesis of Ronald Reagan, man. Reagan inspired confidence. This guy inspires nothing but fear and tyranny. And call it what it is. The guy, by definition, about fiat is a tyrant. Sic semper tyrannis, man. Sic semper tyrannis. So we need to make sure that we get this guy out, and we need to encourage our congressmen to bring articles of impeachment to not only bring this guy about for the shit that he's done in the office, but let's bring up the basic facts here. Let's go talk about the birther issue, and let's talk about an issue that isn't just about the birther. Let's talk about the complete legitimacy of this guy. What is this guy, Serpentor? If y'all are about my age frame, going back to G.I. Joe, you know what I'm talking about. Let's talk about the birther argument for a minute. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that Barack Obama is his father, okay, and by definition of natural-born citizen, he would be ineligible to be in the current of the house that he's in. I refuse to say the title. I will always drop a P and capitalize the R, if you know what I mean. So let's go look at this in more precise detail. Now, there's a couple of films, and there's also some videos out there on YouTube that talk about some of this stuff, especially just generally his background, but sometimes always seem to miss the target like a poor marksman. But I would have to say Joe Gilbert's film, Dreams from My Real Father, probably hits closest to the mark of all. Bill Whittle on YouTube has some very interesting videos on Obama's background, but he never really touches the birther issue. So, okay, let's just say for the sake of argument that Barack Obama is his father. Well, technically, again, he would be ineligible to hold any type of higher office above senator because of the fact that at the time, Kenya was a British colony in the early 60s. And until they got their sovereignty. So he's actually would be technically a royal subject. So which means he's subject to the crown. So, you know, we got to look at all these aspects here. And he's basically an imperial agent of the crown. Next, let's look at the real facts of the case. He oftentimes mentions Frank in his books. Frank, as in Frank Marshall Davis, the registered communist who eventually moved to Hawaii in the late 50s and early 60s and wrote many columns in the local newspapers, clearly is within the vicinity of the actual point where Stanley Ann Dunham was residing at. And her being a leftist Marxist anyway, thought it was probably cool to go out and just hang around with all these guys and get into a lot of trouble. So let's look at some facts here. If you know anyone who is of mixed heritage, they obviously will have more. The black gene is a little bit stronger than the white gene on many aspects. For example, they will still have the curliness of the hair, certain facial features, and depending on how dark they are, will have more of a sepia skin tone as opposed to a deep, dark black one. So I know a lot of people have mixed parents, and I always try to see, you know, obviously what their children look like, and some of them actually are quite beautiful. But you got to ask yourself, when you look at pictures of Barack Obama Sr. and you look at the current occupant in the White House, is there any freaking way that's his dad? There's no way. Now you look at pictures of Frank Marshall Davis. Whoa, holy shit, the guy looks dead ringer. Built like him, he talks like him, he smokes like him, he's got most of his physical attributes. He laughs like him. I mean, the guy is a complete, almost carbon copy of that man. And we're not just talking physically and mentally. We're also talking philosophy. He was his mentor. And as much as Obama, in his book, and if you believe he wrote that, I got a bridge to say it, it was written by Bill Ayers, even admitted by Bill Ayers several times over. And also at the same time, the Conscience of a Conservative by Barry Goldwater wasn't written by Barry, it's actually his shadow written, but I think Barry had contributed to it, but it was definitely considered to be a Barry Goldwater book. So, it's been done before, and it will be done again. So fear not much is going to change. But this asks the honest question here. Regardless of the fact that he may be born in Kenya or not, or was he born in Hawaii, which he still has discrepancies on that. He can't even get his damn birth certificate straightened out. The short form is just basically a receipt of a birth certificate. The long form, the only reason why he released it in 2011 was the fact that Jerome Corsi had written a book, Where's the Birth Certificate, and it was in the press getting ready to come out. So they put this out to basically silence him on that particular issue. But the information on that was totally, obviously, a forgery, fabricated, and still being investigated to this point. And even Sheriff Joe Arpaio in Arizona, his cold case policy has clearly identified that it's a fraud. Why in the hell is this guy still in office? If you ask me, the Secret Service should immediately arrest him for because he has not verified his identity, temporarily swear in Joe Biden, and hold some serious tribunals about this guy, find out who the hell he is, because he's not who he says he is. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, the birther issue is thrown out. Let's look at the real issue here. The real issue, in so many words, is the fact that he is an illegal alien. He was adopted by his stepfather, Lolo Sotoro, and that's how he was able to generally explain, because he became an Indonesian citizen, on how he was able to go to Pakistan. No American is allowed to go to Pakistan very easily without, obviously, state proof. You can't just take your passport and say, yeah, I'm going to get on Air Paki and fly on over. Don't work that way, dude. Essentially, it's off limits to Americans, and for good reason. But also, notice something about Obama in general. When it comes to Arabic names and pronunciations, he's almost a dead ringer for what they're supposed to be. But common-day words such as Courtman, he can't even say it properly. He says it corpsman. Now, this guy should take over LeVar Burton's job on reading Rainbow instead of reading the teleprompter, misdirecting the damn nation, okay? The guy's a fraud and a phony. And call it what he is a usurper. And we need to, you know what happens to usurpers in classic history. Just look at England on a number of cases. Yeah, I rest my case. So, when there is no evidence whatsoever to clearly show that he repatriated himself when he came back to the United States as a foreign student. Oh, yes. Recently, someone had finally dug up his mysterious Columbia ID from New York, okay, and clearly shows he was a foreign student, which hence why he would never release his college transcripts, because it would clearly show he's a foreign student to begin with. So, you know he was probably brought here under the, totally went blank on this right now. He was basically brought in as sponsored by Bill Ayers' parents, and let's know that too. If you understand who Bill Ayers' parents are and where the money comes from, it really raises a serious jaundiced eye of skepticism on that. So you really start to get asking, who the hell is this guy? And again, nobody who went to college with this guy remembers him. If they went to college, we have one or two guys think they went to school with him, and then you've got people from his past, such as that one girl who knew him growing up, claims he was a avowed homosexual. He was a cokehead, and he would kiss your ass and bum a cigarette, and then when you finally got the cigarette, he basically would just blow you off. He didn't need you anymore, which says a lot about the man's character. You start seeing early things. I'm not saying people don't change over time, but when you start seeing patterns that clearly show who this guy might be, or at least what his behavior patterns, I think it kind of shows something. It really does. It should really make you wonder about what the hell is going on here. So, but either way, the guy never repatriated himself. Plus, he lied on his listing in the Illinois bar because he's supposed to list previous names. He never listed himself as Barry Soetoro, only as Barack Obama II. So, I mean, he should be automatically disbarred because he lied. And I also remember seeing a California newspaper brought up some information about that. It's been a while since I looked it up. But there's enough evidence to clearly show this guy is not who he says he is. I mean, Christ, they had a congressional committee on whether John McCain was eligible to run for president. Let me be frank here. Are you fucking kidding me? Both of his parents were active duty military. John McCain III is technically his real name, okay? John McCain II was an admiral in the U.S. Navy. His mother was a naval nurse on the Panama base. And he was born on that base, even though it was in Panama, it was on native soil, because that was still property of the United States. There is no question John McCain is a legitimate candidate for president. Now, we all understand if he's a reputable candidate for president, that's a whole other argument. But to question the man's eligibility to be president, and not to mention he served his country, he got shot down in North Vietnam, and he spent God knows how many years in that hellhole at the Hanoi Hilton. That guy is a hero, even though he's flat-jacked in his brain a little bit, because some of the shit that comes out of his mouth really makes you wonder. But the bottom line is, the guy is eligible to run for president. No doubt, any way, shape, or form. So you really start asking yourself, dude, what the hell is this guy doing in office right now? And he's doing what to our country? I mean, can you imagine Benghazi under Bush's watch? Oh, my God, dude. They would have had his head on the highest you can imagine. I mean, not even open for negotiation. This guy would have been totally screw-glued and tattooed. I mean, you think they went after him over the fake Air Force Reserve things that he did that Dan Rather brought up? Come on. If that happened, and that shit never would have happened on Reagan's watch, because you remember what happened with Reagan. When they bombed the discotheque in Germany, he bombed Libya. And so no guts, no nothing there. No, not something that's worth the Nobel Peace Prize, that I assure you. So it really makes you wonder. Okay, well, we got about 10 minutes before the top of the hour, and then when I do, I'll start playing a few spots there. Then when I come back, I'm going to play a quick track from one of my local bands here. I am the concept promoter when it comes to good quality music. Just the other night, I filmed Michael Compton. He was the former lead singer of the band called Shovelhead, who put out 2 albums in the late 90s, Push and the self-titled Shovelhead album. After the band disembarked, he went down south to Panama City, Florida for a while. He also played in some bands down there as well as in Alabama, I do believe. And I shot him the other night up in Springfield. Called himself the MFC Trio, which obviously stands for Michael fucking Compton Trio. And interestingly enough, he featured Brian Harris and Randy Gaines, both of a former Dayton band called Decay from the early 90s. So that was an entertaining treat, and it's always a pleasure to see Randy Gaines again. I know him from early days back in elementary, so shout out to you there, Randy, if you're listening, brother. Another one of my favorite bands is Animal Grace, which you'll hear me talk about a lot and do We're Not Worthy Battles. Tony Powell is definitely the best goddamn guitarist in the whole Dayton area, that's for sure. He's won a couple of Guitarists of the Years on my website, H.M.D.com. And his band is also very well reputable. It's been around since 1988 and several different lineups. Matter of fact, for their 25th anniversary a couple years ago, Tony managed to get all configurations of the band up at the Savoy and record for video. Don't know if it's coming out anytime soon or not, but record it for video and a nice little thing there. So I think that's pretty good. But there's a lot of good talent out there, not just in the Dayton area, but everywhere. I am the consummate promoter. I am always trying to find really good bands, regardless of genre. At least, if anything, I am more willing to critique your EPKs, which is your electronic press kits, and also your physical press kits, making sure you've got promo glossies in there, making sure you've got web addresses on all your things. Don't just put a sticker on your car with your band's name. Nobody's going to know who it is out of the area. Make sure you got a web address on that bad boy. It's a lot of good stuff here. So I have a phone call here at 914, so I'm going to pop you here in just 1 second and then hear what you got to say, and then I'm going to play some spots at the top of the hour. So 914, you are live. Who is this?
Bye now. Thank you.
Are you driving? Hello? Are you there?
Hello? You talking to me?
Hello? Yes.
Yeah, you talking to me?
This is Sonny. Who are you?
Oh, it's regular girl. I'm just listening because there's too much noise. I'm on the bus. Let's get off the bus.
Oh.
Is this Guerrilla Radio,
How can I help you
right?
today? Say again?
Is this Guerrilla Radio?
No, Guerrilla Radio is on Wednesday night. This is the Sonny Thomas Show.
Oh, okay.
We cover a lot of similar topics. Yeah, we cover a lot of similar topics.
I want to listen. I want to listen. I want to listen for a while.
Oh, okay.
It's raining here. It's like pouring. I'm running around with my phone in the bus. Just got off. But I'll be back. I'll be in a quiet place in about 20 minutes, okay?
Okay, where are you about to be calling from?
I'm calling from California. California. California.
Whereabouts in California, IA?
El Cajon. El Cajon.
Ah.
Which is right outside of San Diego.
Oh, great, great.
Well,
we'll look forward to calling you back.
Inside. Huh?
I said, look forward to you calling back.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Well, we definitely got some good stuff to present to everybody, so we will make sure that everybody has a chance to chime in and talk about real things that matter. So after the top of the hour, I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that's going on in Greece right now and why nationalist groups are starting to get, shall I say, a good name and a bad name. Nationalism is on the rise in very many countries across the world, and especially where there's a lot of places where the derivatives game has been totally placed and allowed to run totally amok. We're starting to see different political party groups really starting to rise to prominence, such as the UK Independent Party, which is headed by Nigel Farage, or Farage, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Very, very well-spoken man. A really great leader for that particular party, and people are leaving the Labour Party and getting away from the Tories, and they're actually starting to go to the UKIP, and they're a winning election after election. I cannot harp on this enough to get out of the major parties and start going to the secondary and third parties. Depending on which country, and I just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to line up. Here's a prime example. Just the other day, I was at got the MC and speak at a conference in Kettering, hosted by the Liberty Market of Kettering, again, Dave Davis, on the topic, it was called, I don't have it right in front of me again, it's Life, Living, and Liberty, something along that line. And, of course, we had very special guests, Charlie Earl and Sherry Clark, who are the gubernatorial and lieutenant gubernatorial candidates for the great sovereign state of Ohio through the Libertarian Party. Privilege of meeting Charlie Earl 2 years ago when I had a candidates forum here in Franklin, Ohio, where I basically had 5 candidates from 3 different parties. And interesting enough, my stepdad had come along and he said, "Son, I don't know why you're bringing these other guys down here. Nobody's going to vote for these other candidates." I'm like, and I just said, you know, just sit there and listen to them and you might actually learn something. Well, Charlie was one of the last speakers. Again, the Libertarian, at the time he was running for Secretary of State of Ohio. And surprisingly enough, at the end of his speech, my stepdad told me he was very impressed with Charlie and that he was going to vote for him. Now, my stepdad is a registered independent and typically votes Republican, but on some education issues, he'll vote Democrat. So he's definitely an independent. But he was very happy with Charlie. And I said, what was one of the main reasons why you wanted for Charlie? He's a businessman. He's been there. He knows what it takes to run a business and deal with all the stuff that goes with it. So right off the bat, I had an automatic winner in my hands. And I told him, I said, you know, I said, if I got 50,000 other people that think the same damn thing you did, Charlie Earl would have been a major blip on the radar screen and would cause panic, at least to the Republican Party. Now, this is one thing I'm trying to get people to talk to about. Get third-party candidates to run a local election, run for trustee, run for township, run for city council. I don't give a damn if it's dog catcher. Get third-party independent candidates into the local government system. And then make sure when they're in there, they understand things such as Agenda 21. So when they can go in and start seeing it for themselves, they can start raising Cain about it. So these are some things you need to start really looking at. Real quick before the top of the hour, I'm also going to talk about the big, huge rally I had back at the end of June last year, the reaffirmation of the Bill of Rights rally that the Springboro Tea Party had put on at the amphitheater at North Park. We covered a whole bunch of different topics such as drones, their use internationally as well as, and more egregiously, domestically, labeling of GMOs. We also talked about nullifying Obamacare and NDAA, why gold and silver should be recognized as a legitimate currency in the great sovereign state of Ohio. Just general constitution issues. We covered a wide gambit of different things, and I aired the program on cable access that I oftentimes go through here in the Southwest Ohio area on Time Warner Digital Channel 991. It clocked in just under 4 hours, and we covered, again, a myriad of topics, and I've been releasing the speeches separately in a more shotgun approach, and after that full-length rally had aired, and currently Teresa Moody, who talked about Workplace Freedom Act, is going to start rotating now. So I'm going to play a couple quick spots here, and chime back in, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the rally, but we're definitely going to talk about how the Troika has bankrupted Greece and why certain political groups there are starting to rise. So bear with me for a second here. I'm trying to get all my toys working. Gotta love computers, man. They're sometimes worse than humans.
All systems go! Truth Emerges Radio Network and NWO Truth Radio proudly present the Friday Night Super Show. Hosted by Dennis Ford from the Friday Night Show on NWO Truth Radio and the mouth from the last voice for liberty. Broadcasting live across dual networks for a cross-promotional show of epic proportion. Tune in live Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern Time for the most groundbreaking show on the web. The Friday Night Super Show, presented by Truth Emerges Radio Network and NWO Truth Radio. You are awake. Now be aware.
Everybody here wants the pie. We want to grow the pie, and then we want to fight for the pie.
So, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
We are Americans.
Hello, this is Grandpa W.S. Stone, the spokesperson and withering corpse for the Last Voice for Liberty Network. You know, I'm here to talk to you about senility. Senility is... Thank you very much. You know, I've been very disturbed lately because my dear wife Eleanor's not with me anymore. That's right, she's with Jesus. Or Jesus. I don't know how the son of a gun pronounced his name. Some Cuban guy from Miami stole my woman, and I'm just not gonna take it anymore. Free at last! Free at last! Thank God Almighty! We are free at last!
Einstein, she's already ready to rally against the guns.
Well, you're set up for failure, but it doesn't mean you have to fail.
Our nation is ready for tyranny. What about the over 2 million crimes that were prevented by people being armed? This is a representative republic. Democracy is frickin' mob rules. That's what true democracy is. It's mob rules.
It's just like a matter of, you got to be careful of who you listen to and whose input you take. And it's all fun and games.
The one and only original Guerrilla Radio with Austin Thomas and Liberty.
It's a House of Blues break. Hey, sometimes it's a whole lot easier listening to the blues than attempting to try to define it. According to blues guitarist Eric Jerardi, the blues means so much to so many different people that it's just hard to define exactly what it is that makes this music so appealing.
But some people it has such a profound effect. I really don't know, but all I know is the first time my dad threw me on my bed and made me listen to Jimmy Reed, and he scratched my Ozzy Osbourne record in the process and said, "Son, time we had a talk. Listen to this." It had a profound effect on me, and whenever I picked up a guitar, that's what would come out. I'd be playing Baby What You Want Me to Do no matter what I wanted to play. It just kept coming out. So let's just not question it, and let's just be happy that it's there, I suppose.
Glory, after silence.
Okay, we are back on the Sonny Thomas Show. That was the Brothers in Arms Band with the title track to their album, Life, from the album What's Life For. If you want more information on that, check them out at brothersinarmsband.com. You can also follow them on Twitter at Brothers in, the letter N, Arms, on Twitter. So it's Brothers in Arms, and that is the same Twitter feed to Brothers in Arms Band. So it's actually pretty good stuff there. So hope you enjoyed that little clip. Before that, you heard our Eric Jerardi clip from the House of Blues interview that he did a while back, which I have to agree with many of the comments that he said in that particular clip. So definitely a must check out. There's a lot of great artists out there, not just, again, in my area, but just all over the place. God, I could go on, the different genres. I've met some really great musicians. I'm not a musician myself, but I've always wanted to be an album producer. That's always been one of my dreams. I'm not gifted in making music, but once it's made, I can really have a blast just jamming. As I get my editing stuff together here, you're going to hear some pretty sweet-ass intros and stuff that I'll do like I did in the original show I did back in 20 years ago when I was in high school. The show I have is called Sonny Z and the H.M.D. I still have a couple of tapes from some of those shows, and even a Kiss tribute show I did called Kiss Stereo, and I played a lot of rare solo stuff at the time, such as off of Peter Criss's first two solo albums after he left Kiss in 80 and 82, which have now been reissued on CD ever since the reunion in 96. So, which also brings me to another thing. A recent interview I read with Ace Frehley, he was talking about he's totally open for, and I guess he's been talking to Gina Paul about it, about playing at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, playing 3 or 4 songs. No word on Peter yet, and I haven't seen anything on his Twitter, but that would be great to have the original 4 to play that, because they're the ones that brought everything. It doesn't matter whoever was in Kiss afterwards. Kiss will always be Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Peter Criss, and Ace Frehley in makeup and full bombastic costumes, man. That's what's always been, and it's always all about. Rock and roll night, party every day, man. Living in Detroit Rock City. So, a couple of things to talk about. When we talked about what's going on in Greece, there's a particular national party there called Golden Dawn, who originally started in 1980 or so. They were basically mirroring themselves on the German Nazi Party, and were very nationalist and very socialist, even having pictures of Hitler on their headquarters walls. So, but they were trying to follow most of the basic ideologies and of the National Socialist German Worker Party of Germany of the 1920s. Now, it was interesting as time went on, especially by the mid-90s, they started to change their rhetoric. Instead of brandishing the swastika, they started doing, I forget the name of the symbol they use now, but it's the basic symbol that you use in all Greek statuary and a lot of their writings and stuff. Is kind of like a twisted little P curly Q type of thing. Everybody trying to say, oh, it's just kind of a swastika type of thing. BS. Get over it. What's interesting enough is they are starting to gain a lot of prominence, and have recently started winning a lot of seats in their parliament in Greece. Now, if you know some of the economic situations going on in Greece, the Troika has basically bankrupted that country. And what they're doing is they're saddling with debt that's not even theirs. What Greece needs to do is do like Iceland and kick the banksters out and tell them, you come back here, we're going to hang you. And that's exactly what Iceland's doing. You don't hear that shit being talked about in the mainstream media. Oh, no, we won't talk about that. Nay, nay, I say. That's not even up for discussion. So if we start going by Iceland's example of what they're doing, which is fantastic, we can kick a lot of banksters out and get them the hell out of here quicker than you can say spit. Plus, you got to look at some congressmen that have been in the past, have helped either expose a fraudulent private Federal Reserve or have at least marginalized its collection wing, which is the IRS, a.k.a. Jim Traficant, the big Democrat from Northeast Ohio, who helped bring down the IRS to make them a little bit more accountable, and basically, before the IRS says, hey, you owe us money. Now, no, I don't. Prove you don't. They put the burden of proof on the IRS to prove why they didn't owe any money. So huge amount of savings have just within the first year or so. What was that? I think he said the stats were for something like before house seizures were like 37,000 down to like 57. That's like less than one per state. Unless you're Barack Obama, you take this 57 states in the union. That's one per state. So we have seen some congressmen who have actually done some real good during their tenure there in Congress. And, of course, the ever-immortal Ron Paul. We've also had Mr. Republican Robert Taft, senator from the great sovereign state of Ohio. We've also had Senator Barry Goldwater, the esteemed senator from Arizona. And you got to ask yourself, Arizona, how in the hell did you go from Barry Goldwater to John McCain? Really? Are you shitting me here? What the hell are you thinking of? How can you still keep that jackass in office? That's what I don't understand. But here's the best part about that situation, is 3 prominent counties in Arizona has basically voted to censure John McCain, which means if he tries to run again, he has no support within inside his own Arizona GOP. Now that is definitely making a statement. We're starting to see similar situations here in Ohio with Governor Kasich, and then doing the Obamacare crap with this Medicaid expansion program he's been pushing, and some of the other shenanigans. He was basically told by the feds that he had to extend his unemployment benefits, so he's basically took loans out to secure that, and what he's doing now is he's shaking down small businesses to collect them, just like the mob would do for protection money. Had to wet my whistle here real quick. But one of the things that you're seeing is that Kasich is doing all sorts of stuff. I'm in the GOP, and one of the things I asked him straight up, I said, look, I like Mary Taylor as running mate, but I don't trust Kasich. The guy used to work for Lehman Brothers, for Christ's sake. I was kind of like a branch manager. I don't care, dude. You drank the Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? You drank the freaking Kool-Aid, man. You followed their business plan, and you believed in their mission statement. That would be no different if I worked for Pizza Hut and then try to go to casinos or something and say, oh, yeah, well, you know, that shit don't work, man. So what you got to start asking yourself is, how can we start going back against some of these corrupt politicians? Well, first thing you want to do is you want to get reputable people just like you and me, common day every people. First thing you do is you start running for your local central committee. You become a precinct captain, which is the bottom of the political pyramid. Once you've got in there, you can start having a voice. And don't be meek about it. Don't be a little mouse. Be a lion and roar, because that's how you're going to get noticed. First thing you do is you get in there and you get in the central committees. And then when they start having vacancies open, such as prosecutor or things like that, and it's on an out of election year, then what you do is you can kind of help vet the candidates out. So that's one thing that you can do that we've done successfully here in Ohio. The Cincinnati Tea Party started this a couple of years ago, and when we had a couple sessions, and when I got elected in 2010 to 2012, we had a huge Tea Party and conservative majority running out the establishment. We did. We literally went safari and just took the rhinos out. It was fantastic. In our particular county GOP, we're considered the flagship of the Ohio GOP, but yet lately we've been kind of resting in our laurels. Why? I have no freaking clue. I have a couple of callers coming up. I'll get to you here in just a minute after I finish this thought. But yes, you can make a difference in your local committee. Now, there's some people, like in some of my other friends and other talk radio shows, says, well, the parties are so corrupt you can't do anything about it. Start a third party or join another party. Well, you can do that too. Join a Libertarian Party, join a Constitution Party. There's plenty of other parties out there. The recent party one of my guests had started is called, it was confusing, it's Freedom Party America. Now, it's not the same as American Freedom Party. They're two totally different entities. But Freedom Party America is basically a lot of the Austrian theory of economics, the Ron Paul principles of republicanism, and true federalism. So that might be something you might want to look up as well, just join a local party. I mean, when I first started to vote, I didn't know the differences between the parties, so I stayed as an independent. For my first two presidential elections, I voted for Ross Perot. Damn skippy I did. 2000, I voted for Bush. And I realized by 2004, definitely wasn't Kerry. reluctantly kind of voted for Bush. And after we voted for Bush and realized the borders are still open, realized we got hoodwinked. By then, I started to discover Ron Paul. And in the Ron Paul Revolution, I discovered two main films were instrumental for this. The first, Zeitgeist, and America, Freedom to Fascism by the late Aaron Russo. Two films that introduced people to Ron Paul and his principles of sound money, non-interventionist foreign policy, which we're starting to see work. Because the shit that's going on with the saber rattling in Syria, Bashir is not Hitler. He's not Saddam Hussein. He's not doing this stuff to his people. It's al-Qaeda. And the people are starting to see that because he's using the same damn playbook as it did in Iraq. It's bullshit. People are starting to know it. They're calling it out for what it is. That's how we stop them from stopping in there. But I guarantee you, sure as you turn your head, they're going to start trying to bomb Syria again. So we need to call them out for it and call them as war crimes and war criminals as they are. Why is it that al-Qaeda never attacks Israel? You ever wonder that? It really makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder. Okay. The caller that just dropped off, feel free to call back in here any second. I was finishing up my point, and I was getting to you. You are live. Welcome to the Sonny Thomas Show. Are you there, 818?
Hello. Yeah.
Hello.
And, hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
Oh, good.
How are
Thank
you?
you. Oh, good. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking my call. I just tuned in, and I thought, wow, this is interesting. I used to be a diehard Republican. I used to be very active in the Republican Party. I'm now a registered independent after what they did with Ron Paul. Because,
Amen.
Well, yeah, and as far as the Tea Party movement, it's originally a Ron Paul movement. It got totally hijacked by neocons. The neocons is a Jewish movement started by Billy Crystal and his father, and I got to stick him on it on C-SPAN. So anyway, when I called in, and the thing is, if you run for office, the Ron Paul people, they're running as Republicans, and God bless them for that. I think they're making a mistake because the big machine out there are lobbies like AIPAC and the ADL, and you have all these lobbies, Jewish lobbies, and let me tell you, you will not win. You're better off running as an independent, and with a lot of money, and then just get in there and
that doesn't always work either. That we saw that with a couple of candidates over who had a lot of money, and that didn't work either. Because they'll try to shut you out and marginalize your airtime, buy up as much radio time as they can get, so they screw you from getting any radio ads. But I will say this, though. Yes, I do agree with all your statements. We got to really start understanding the Zionist for what he is. He's a complete enemy of humanity. And when you really start understanding what's going on and who are the main groups, and that's one of my arguments I brought up too, is the fact that, does anyone question the fact that you've got 6 Jewish families that run all the media in this country? Can you imagine if it was all the Italians? They'd be crying foul, man, and say, man, we've got a WAP revolution going on over here in the media. What if it was all Polish people? Or what if it was all Russians that were running all the media? There would be a huge outcry saying, hell no, man. They'll be doing basically antitrust stuff like Roosevelt did, that Theodore Roosevelt did, to break up the monopolies.
He was a Jew himself, Roosevelt. And Franklin Roosevelt, he was a real communist. We didn't have to go to war.
Roosevelt was also a Mason, too.
And I have a problem. You mentioned John McCain. John McCain is a total traitor to this country.
Amen.
He was at a memorial in San Diego. I'm in California. And my friend, James Morris, he's a real activist, and he wanted to go. to San Diego, and then he came back, and then they had to go back because his mother's real old, and she left something in one of the motels there, and he asked me if I wanted to go, and I couldn't. I had too much to do, but I sure wish I did. He was at this memorial thing where John McCain was. He spoke up. He said, because he was talking to the veterans, about the veterans, and he said, and my friend got up there. It was on the news, too, and he said to him, never forget, what about the ones that lost their lives in the USS Liberty that got attacked by Israel? And all he could do is stand up there and call him a jerk. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I see that one.
And, yeah, and you had, who's that? Mitt Romney was up there and sitting there next to John McCain's wife. And there's a lot going on with her, too, that people don't know about her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
they all hobnob together, so it gets pretty bad.
Yeah, he's a total traitor. Total. Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you for calling in. I'm going to go take my next call.
Thank you.
Hopefully you continue to go, and feel free to follow my websites and follow me on my Twitters and at the Sonny Thomas Show as well as Springboro Tea. And feel free to directly message me so that way I like a lot of your talking points. I'd like to be able to add those into my commentary. So thank you again for calling, 818-914. You're still on hold. Are you still there? 914? Are you there? Did you find that quiet place you were looking for yet? Okay, she must be stuck somewhere else. Okay, so that brings up a lot of interesting stuff. She brought up a lot of good points there because the Zionists are the one that pretty much, or is pretty much the shadow government that runs all the politicians in this country, at least all the major ones. Where we can still take government back is at the local level. And the first thing you really have to do is you really have to understand Agenda 21 to be able to not only question them on it, because all these cats don't know what the hell is going on in there. Okay, they have no clue. What they're going to do is they're going to just go through business as usual. Some are in there for their own, self-promoting purposes. Others that just don't care because, they don't want to know about what's already precedent or what's transpired in the past. It's not their interest. They're just there to better themselves and probably to get better business accounts. So those are things you need to look at. But definitely anyone who runs for any city council or township trustee or county commission, hold them accountable. First thing you got to do, go to the board, go to the meetings and listen to what they got to say. One thing you definitely want to do is you need to understand the basics of Robert's rules. Once you understand the basics of Robert's rules, you understand why they do the little format that they do. And from my personal experience, if you don't find a really good video on it or even go get a Dummy's book or a Complete Idiot's Guide to that, there's YouTube videos that you can look up on Robert's rules and understand how they work. Start going to your local school board meeting. Listen to what the hell is going on. And the main thing is, don't fall asleep at these things. Stay awake. I know sometimes they get boring as shit, but you just got to make sure you stay straight on that. But what you really want to do is listen to the buzzwords. When you've got the buzzwords and you listen to what they're saying, you can really understand some of the doublespeak and some of the deception that they're practicing. Hold them accountable every way, every step. That's the only way that you can really get anything done at the local level. Start with the school boards, go to your city council. I know you'd rather be sitting in the hall watching, I don't care, Escape Plan with Stallone and Schwarzenegger that just came out. You'd rather watch that than you go to your local school board meeting. You need to know what the hell is going on in your school board and how they're indoctrinating your kids, man. Especially this Common Core crap that they're trying to. You really got to understand what the hell it's all about. Concerned Women of America have got an excellent, excellent program on understanding Common Core, and they format the chapters into like questions, and they break it down according to that. So I would recommend look up cwa.org, I do believe, and look for their YouTube links on Common Core. That particular video there is an excellent specimen to take and dissect watch it 4, 5, 6 times over so you can not only understand the lingo, but you'll be able to understand exactly what they're trying to implement and totally track our children from K to 12 and get them in this damn police state that they're really trying to push. This is what a police state looks like. And that's exactly what it starts, just like Hitler did. He knew once he grabbed the youth, he's got them all because you take care of the future right then and there. So those are things you need to be aware of and staying on top of, because otherwise you're just wasting your time, man. You're just pulling on Superman's cape or pissing in the wind. So your choice. So, but there are a lot of good things going on out there in various groups that you need to look into. At least even for just research stuff. I've had pretty good stuff with John Birch Society at jbs.org. They're really good stuff on trying to explain CONCON, which is Constitution Convention, also explaining Agenda 21. They have a program called Support Your Local Police that I'm really starting to dive into, which you can hold your local police accountable. Another thing that you could do, too, is go get yourself a little low-watt transmitter and put an antenna up in your town and broadcast Alex Jones or something. You know, you'd be surprised. A buddy of mine did that in Middletown for a number of years. He woke up the police force down there on all the shifts. All the shifts. They realized that their police force was getting nationalized, and 3 or 4 of the cops started stepping up and saying, not on my watch. And they only did that just because they were on their terrestrial radios while they're cruising around town. They were able to listen to Alex Jones. Jones isn't the greatest thing out there, but he's probably one of the biggest out there who's actually talking about the stuff as it is, and he's got reputable guests. So those are things that are positive and could wake up a lot of these stupid Republicans that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They think it's so great. Let me tell you, there's so many dipshit Republicans out there. They just don't have a clue. They really don't. And you try to explain anything to them, they just don't get it. You know, most of the libertarians I found out there, the problem with libertarianism, at least modern libertarianism, is they're too wishy-washy on social issues. Basically, they're almost like liberals. If it feels good, do it. But you can't, man. You got to draw a line somewhere. You know, I tell you straight up, when it comes to traditions, I am totally for straight marriage. You can take that gay marriage shit and throw it out the damn thing where it belongs. That's not for me. Now, what you do in the privacy of your own home is your own damn business. And here's usually a topic I usually bring up that gets people really fired up. Pee Wee Herman wants to sit at home and watch kitty porn on his TV. Who is he bothering? Is he really bothering you? No, he's watching images that gratify him in any way, shape, or form he pleases. No different if I was watching a regular porno or I'm watching a horror movie, okay? If that's what gets my rocks off, who am I bothering? Are there children present? No. Is he going out looking for kids afterwards? No. He's been caught satisfying himself in a frickin' what do you call his damn little booth? And I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but whatever. He's been caught himself pleasuring himself in there. Was he messing with his kids? No, he was not. Now, the first question you got to ask yourself is, well, that's just wrong, man. You know, dude, who are you going to hate? The sick bastard that's watching it or the real sick fuck that actually made the video? And the worst part of it is, a lot of times these days, we do some research, a lot of that kiddie porn out there, especially if it's teenage lust, is filmed by teenagers. What a shocker. A shocker. So what are you going to do when you go bust them? I mean, you know, in some gang situations, murder is the rite of passage. And who's going to send a 13-year-old to the chair? You know what I'm saying? So if a 15-year-old is out there making pornos of his girlfriend, getting his rocks off on it, and he ends up selling the damn thing, and people buying it, you know, I don't care. There's always going to be a demand for something. I don't care what the deviance is or whatever the case may be, okay? There's always going to be a demand for some sick film out there. I remember growing up, Faces of Death was kind of popular. But people knew they were going to die or wanted to die, and they filmed themselves on video. Some people got off on that. I thought it was kind of stupid watching some guy let himself get splattered all over the asphalt after dropping off a 14-story building. Really, dude? Hopefully he had a heart attack before he hit the ground, because it's not the falling that gets you, it's the landing. Or am I working on my desk work here? Where I desk I tried working, that's, you know. So, running joke with someone else in the room. But the thing is, you can't really hate somebody like Pee Wee Herman for wanting to do stuff like that. But as long as he's acting as fantasies, who cares? Me personally, I am not a pot smoker. It's not my cup of tea. Shit makes me sick even to smell it. I have a lot of friends that do it and that are responsible enough to do it. In other words, they get home, they got all their munchies in place, they toke up, and they veg out, man. More power to you, okay? But if that gets your rocks off, go for it. You know, just not my cup of tea. But I don't want it really legalized. But then again, I don't want the government saying that you can't smoke it. If you want to smoke that and put it in your body, that's your damn business. If I want to eat a Snickers bar 2 or 3 times a day and run the risk of becoming a diabetic, well, that's my dumb ass. You know what I'm saying? You run the risk of coming up with sorts of things. But then you got to wonder what else is going on. Is your information being traded around? When you go to a Kroger or something like that and use your Kroger Plus card, everything you buy is being tracked. Dr. Captain Albright's actually covered this very well in her show and also in her book, Spy Chips. She's also talked about many ways on how they're tracking you on your purchases as well as the actual items you purchase, because there's tracking devices inside the items. So bad enough your cell phone may betray you. The NSA is always listening. Hello, Charlie, are you listening to what I'm saying? Here, talking to my left titty because I'm wired, you know what I'm saying? So those are things you got to look at. You got to really monitor what they're actually doing and what they're trying to track. I mean, let's just say, for the sake of example, your mother has gout, okay? You go, and let's say you're living with her or something. She goes and buys a couple extra pieces of meat, cooks some steaks for you since you're at home, okay? Her insurance is going to go up. Or better yet, your insurance is going to go up because she's the one that's got gout, not you. And because she had it, they're going to assume that you're going to get it. So learn different ways to mask your purchases, because a lot of times the stuff you buy that's got the yellow tag special, you're really not saving any deals. Because what money you save on half your purchases there, it done jack the prices up on the other half of the shit that you would normally eat. All right, 515, I see you got a call coming in. We're going to bring you in. Welcome to the Sonny Thomas Show. Who's this? Are you there? Hola, ¿qué tal, eh? I hear you, but I don't hear anything.
Who'd you pull in?
515? That's your area code, right?
Me?
Yes.
Really?
Really? Who did?
I just called in. I have no idea what the topic of the night is.
I really haven't designated one, actually. I'm just kind of going all over the map.
Jesus. So what are you discussing tonight?
Well, we're talking about a whole bunch of different things. I'm the consummate promoter of music. This is my first show here on Blog Talk Radio, so trying to cover a whole host of different topics. I recently talked about the Troika in Greece and how nationalist groups like Golden Dawn are starting becoming more prominent. The UK Independent Party is also becoming more prominent in Great Britain. Many other geopolitical issues. I haven't talked about much about economics yet, but that's pretty much what I've covered so far. You got anything else you want to throw in the mix for the next 30 seconds?
Not really, darling. I just wanted to listen to you guys talk because I enjoy it.
Great. Well, thanks for calling, and hopefully you learned something.
I will. I'm sure of that.
Have a good night. All right,
you
bye-bye.
too.
Hey. Area code 937. Welcome to the Sonny Thomas Show.
Hey, it's great to see somebody here in southern Ohio, you know, getting things rolling. I wish I would have known about you a lot sooner with the CFC.
Oh, this is actually my show, brother.
Yeah, that's actually how I found out about your radio show was CFCC.org.
Oh, did you really? Did they finally get a story up on that?
I sure did. Typos and everything.
Yeah,
the hallmark of CFC.org.
Yeah, I was curious because the website was down for a while. I know Kyle was trying to get that fixed. So I didn't know if he'd gotten it up, because when I looked at it earlier, all he had was older stories up. So that's good that he finally got a blurb up first. Is there an actual article on it?
Yep, actually a good one too. Talks about your history in radio, your history with CSCC.org, with the Council of Conservative Citizens and everything.
Yeah, it's a really good organization. When I first got in the Ron Paul movement, I was looking for a lot of different groups I was coming across, and come across Banner Ad or something somewhere. I don't remember what it was. It was back in 2006. And I remember actually, when I got a copy of their Citizens Informer, it was interesting because right about the time that I was starting to wake up, they had did a review of the America Freedom to Fascism film. Someone had told me about the film, and I think I just ended up getting ready to buy a copy at the time. So I had like 4 or 5 different sources tell me essentially this was a really good film to get into it, and I have to say it woke me up in so many different ways. And so I even bought extra copies and shared them around to people I work with, various jobs over the years. When they started to understand that the Federal Reserve and the income tax, you can just see the floodgates that opened, just like it did for me. So I'm not the only one that felt that that was a very influential film.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Well, you were talking about gay marriage, and you kind of got the, I don't want to say huffy, negative towards it. Which, don't get me wrong, the concept of gay marriage is laughable, because the whole concept, the whole institution of marriage, is for a man and a woman to get together to have legitimate children. Period.
Correct.
Period.
Correct.
That's all it is. And a lot of conservatives fall into these traps that the Marxists set for us. That they knew that it would be a hot button a hot button issue, and that the conservatives would freak out over it. It's a red herring, and I don't know how to. I don't want to criticize conservatives for getting angry and fighting it, but it makes you look like bad guys, or us, I should say, because I'm a conservative myself. It's a red herring. It's one of those issues that if you fight it, you're the bad guy. If you ignore it, you're the bad guy. It's a lose-lose proposition. The Marxists are brilliant in their strategies. They really are.
All right.
But I honestly,
like a lot of the communists, when they started dissipating after Reagan brought them down, they basically screwed off into the Green Movement and the Sierra Club. So, but they still have a little bit of a hand in some of the social issues such as that. So, yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from.
That's a social engineering issue.
Oh, yeah, big time.
But I mean, what are we accomplishing by fighting against gay marriage? I mean,
well,
that's one of
the well, I have to say this: it's no different than William Barrett Travis basically drawing a line and saying, you just stay here at the Alamo, you go home. You need to sometimes just say enough is enough. I mean, we traditionally, any society that's ever embraced homosexuality is usually collapsed within 2 to 3 generations. And then you not only you can't replenish your armies at the same time you run the risk of invasion. Then you start getting foreign fighters in your armies, and you only have to see Rome as a classic example of that. Thinking now you have individuals like Alaric, who basically got passed over for a promotion, says, oh yeah, screw you, take that very tactics he learned from the Roman infantry, and basically held Rome at siege and starved them out until they acquiesced. I mean, those are reasons why you don't allow foreign fighters in your army. They should all be, your people and nationalists, because of the fact that the whole purpose of serving in the army is to defend your country. Whether it's an island or a section of plot of land or whatever, or an isthmus, or whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that you defend your homeland. And there's no reason why the native people shouldn't have their own homeland. The Germans should have Deutschland. The Scots should have Scotland. Ireland should be for the Irish, not for all these other groups that come in there and bypass their laws and basically say, well, I like this, I like drugs, I like gay marriage, and piss on your history. I mean, if you've ever been to the Isles, man, those people know their history. I mean, there's monuments everywhere. Everybody knows the royal lineages and all the major battles and stuff. Over here, really? They think Bill Clinton's the greatest president? Come on, man. JFK was probably the last real president we've had.
Right, and he wasn't exactly the greatest either. With
no,
some
but
of the stuff that he sure did. He sure did.
He stood up to the military-industrial complex. He was going to get us out of Vietnam in '64. That was going to be a cornerstone of his second term.
Well, hey, let me ask you your opinion on this. Speaking of the Fed and all that fun, happy stuff, that there seems to be a conflict right now within within the conservative movement, the real conservative movement, as to whether to focus on the monetary system, you know, the Fed, the IMF, that issue singularly, or to harp on Benghazi, Fast and Furious, the Obama birth certificate, and all this other stuff. Do you think we should focus mainly on fixing the monetary system to make it actually by the people instead of by this private bank? Because, you know, me personally, I think that is issue number one. Because we can complain, we can march, we can form organizations, but so long as that they have that money, it's always just going to be reverted right back to where it is today. You know, I mean, that's my position. But there's other people.
The monetary system has been so compromised. It's been so devalued. I mean, we're on the verge of a collapse. I mean, the prepper is now seen as a new domestic terrorist, and that's because he just wants to make sure he's going to take care of himself or his family. There's nothing wrong with that. I would definitely say first thing I would do is go after impeachment of Obama and demand to know his true identity, because he's fraudulent, he's a usurper by definition. And he's also written more executive orders than any of the others combined. I mean, the guy's obviously preparing for a major dictatorship. And the thing you got to ask yourself is, man, what the hell is our Praetorian Guard doing? You can't tell me one of these guys don't see Nero burning Rome? I mean,
all right.
How in the hell is this guy to walk around? You know what I'm saying? So, makes you wonder. All right, brother, appreciate you calling in, and thanks for giving me a tip on COCC putting a post up on this. So that's fantastic. So we'll go ahead and finish up here. I got a few minutes left to try to get some stuff going, so I appreciate all of our callers tonight. Hope you enjoyed this first introductory show, the Sonny Thomas Show. We're going to try to cover a lot of topics like this as much as possible as we go on. So I know it may seem like I'm bouncing all over a little bit, meandering about, because of the fact that I'm a free thinker and I don't drink the fluoride. I'm doing pretty good here, and I sure as hell don't down cans of Diet Coke like jackass Glenn Beck either, and wind up having to, can't even see my nose in front of me. So, but as I get the show structured throughout the weeks, you start seeing an actual structure come into place, and I'll start doing peak time zone. Really want to hit phone calls because I really want to hear your guys' opinions. Because one thing I've always approved of is in the Ron Paul movement, people all come from different backgrounds. Our experiences make us who we are. And it's really great when you get on an issue and you've got a monumental experience piece, try to keep it short, to the point, be target specific. But when you actually focus on something like a laser beam, that's when you can do the most damage, or in this case, bring up the most relevance of an issue. So we're going to be discussing a lot of stuff. We're going to be discussing the Fed. We're going to be discussing the executive order that Kennedy had written to abolish the Fed. We're also going to discuss a lot of things as time goes on. One of the topics I want to talk about, that one of my biggest themes, is state sovereignty. You need to start telling your local senators and state reps to, and if you have to, get them copies of Thomas Wood's book on nullification and drop it off. You know, tell them they need to read it because that book has been very influential. So there's a lot of things that you can do as a private citizen to wake these bastards up, man. I mean, my state senator, Senator Jones, she's a joke, man. Absolute joke. She brought up SB 5, which had a lot of good points. It was brought off of a bill in New York, okay, but it was just a poorly written bill overall. And I was there during many of those discussions, man. Let me tell you what. These union people, they are sons of bitches, man. They will get in your face and call you everything but a white man. I mean, and they're so stupid. And some of these teachers, I got in their face and said, why aren't you teaching our kids critical thinking instead of critical theory? And they look at me like they're cross-eyed. And I said, if you don't know what that means, is you shouldn't be teaching at all. Or if you do know what that means, you definitely shouldn't be teaching at all because you know exactly what the hell you're teaching our kids. And I got in a couple of fisticuffs almost with some firefighters. And one guy said, oh, I hope if your house catches on fire, it burns down. I said, yeah, you know why? It ain't going to happen because I know I've seen none of my fire officials up here at this bogus rally. They're all back at the station waiting for a fire to happen. So I ain't impressed, dude. I'm going to give them more kudos than I will in your frickin' town. Just the fact that, oh, man, that stuff really gets me going like you cannot imagine. Ugh. Well, I've got a lot of hidden talents, and I've got a lot of impersonations, too, that you're going to hear throughout the course of the show. And time, man. You never know. I might just come up and just drop the jaw with the real brain in it. I missed it. I'm getting a little slap-happy because it's getting late up here in the Eastern Standard Time Zone. So great for the callers calling in tonight from the California coast. And always enjoy hearing differences of opinion and stuff like this and talk about things. All I ask is you call in, you be proper and not be belligerent, because if you are, I'll just quickly hit the drop button and won't have to hear your babbling. Stay focused, because we have a very short time left in this country. You really have to stay focused like a laser beam and start talking about issues that matter. Like I said, the first thing you want to do, you want to run for, obviously the election time is over now to even get a ballot, but just in the future. Seriously consider looking at doing research, your local GOP, or if you're a Democrat, maybe you're a blue dog Democrat, run for your local central committee. Get on there. If there's, because you'd be surprised, there's a lot of vacancies in your counties that aren't getting filled. One of them might be your precinct. Run. Literally, all you got to do is get 5 signatures from the neighbors off on a petition and vote for yourself. Dude, you're in. And then start raising some freaking can. Ask some serious questions. And don't take no for an answer. Be belligerent about it. That's the only way you're going to get things happen, man. You're really going to have to go in there and start whooping some ass. That's just the way it's going to be. So, as time goes on, we're going to be covering a lot of topics. And I've got a little list I've been writing down as I go on that we're going to cover next week at the same time and the same channel. So, definitely please get the word out. Look at Facebook.com/Sonny Thomas Show, on Twitter.com/Sonny Thomas Show, obviously at Sonny Thomas Show. Check out my personal website, SonnyThomas.com, and then my other respective websites, SpringboroTeaParty.com, the Council of Conservative Citizens of Ohio at cfccohio.org, and the H.M.D. Music Resource Guide at thehmd.com. That's THEHMD.com. So that's the main websites to look at. We also have an advocacy page that I put up just to kind of fight some of this neocon talk radio. On Facebook, look up Air Alex Jones on WHIO and WKRC. We're trying to get enough people on there so we can start to at least get that Andy Dean off, man, and put Jones on there. Andy Dean is one of the worst neocon talk show sons of bitches you've ever heard. This guy is the ultimate neocon hack. Bring back Michael Savage. I'd rather hear him blathering about talking about his recipes occasionally or going on his boat with his dog than hear this Andy Dean guy. This guy's very deceptive. Very deceptive. Not as deceptive as Mark Levin in his Con book he's been pushing. Liberty Amendments, I think it's called. Man, these conservatives are so stupid just because Sean Hannity fawns over this guy. They think he's great. Now, I've listened to a lot of Levin shows over the years. He brings up a lot of good talking points, and actually I think he has a generally very good speaking voice and style of delivery. But the guy is very deceptive. Now, one of the worst radio shows out there is Glenn Beck's radio program. Absolutely abomination. The guy is a complete narcissistic son of a bitch. He's in love with the sound of his own voice. The problem is he never introduces his crew that he has there on his radio show. And there's like one or two guys that sound a lot like Glenn. So you have no way of knowing which one's talking sometimes. I remember when Ron Paul was running, and the first time, not the Libertarian time, but no 8, he was calling Ron Paul supporters that should be arrested by the Army and things of that nature. Well, I went to North Indianapolis when he went on his one of his book tours. I think it was an Inconvenient book tour or something like that. And we were there in North Indianapolis, and we did a silent protest out there in front of the place. The guy was slated to be here for 2 hours. After 54 minutes, he skedaddled. And he didn't even have the balls to come out front. He has bus take off. He has another bus come up from behind and scoop him out and then take off because he didn't have the gonads to come out there and face us. There was only about maybe 20, 30 of us out there, if I recall correctly. But the bottom line is, we won the argument. In the last election, now he's Ron Paul's buddy. Really? Let me tell you something about Rand Paul. Many things, he's a lot like his dad. And other things, complete flip side. The best way I describe Rand Paul, he's Anakin Skywalker. He is. He's Anakin Skywalker. That son of a bitch will turn to the dark side as soon as he gets in there. I'm telling you, do not let him get anywhere near Palpatine more than he already is. He will become a Sith Lord, man. Many major cornerstones in the Liberty movement, he's turned his back on, such as labeling GMOs. He's actually starting to lean towards pro-amnesty. I mean, he's doing everything that has almost become the antithesis of his dad, even though he's done a lot of long speech sermons and things like that. Strom Thurmond still has the longest filibuster of all time, man. At least as far as modern history. I'm sure Cicero in Rome probably had some even longer. And that's another thing, too. You've got to work on a classical education. Especially for homeschoolers out there, there's an excellent book you might want to add to your library and to your teaching materials. You want to look up a book by the name of Susan Wise Bauer. It's called The Well-Trained Mind. An excellent book, especially if you have a young one and you want to homeschool and haven't had decided to put them on a homeschool regimen yet. This book is so well detailed; it covers a wide range of things. And tell you what, you will probably have a high school graduate level student by the time your child is in 6th grade. That's how good this book is. Again, it's by Susan Wise Bauer. It's called The Well-Trained Mind. And I do have an adult version of that. I flipped through it. I don't think it's as comprehensive. It talks about the basic ideas, but if you have The Well-Trained Mind and you get certain chapters, it lists all the major classical books in order, in chronological order, and simultaneously with each major civilization, such as the first books you want to read is Genesis, the Epic of Gilgamesh, all of the early epic writings. Then you start going to your Roman Greco stuff and go up from there, and then of course as time goes on you start getting the Renaissance, and of course you cover Sun Tzu, Voltaire, all that stuff. I definitely recommend you read Cicero's writings, especially on duties. That is a classical book you definitely need to do, and really understand Plato's Republic. When you understand Plato's Republic, you kind of see as much of the dystopia that it really envisions. So definitely want to add that to your reading library material. And I don't know about you, I actually prefer digital these days as opposed to paperback books, but make sure you actually have a book on hand, especially classical writings like Huckleberry Finn, because they're already starting to censor just because it has the word nigger in it. I mean, that's just a prime example. So if they change it to Negro, you're kind of really missing the potency of the way Mark Twain had originally envisioned the book. So, again, it's like trying to understand Ronald Reagan's presidency without ever acknowledging his governorship in California. So, I'm having a couple of technological issues here with my comp, so bear with me just a minute. Easy peak, man. Okay. Okay, well, I was hoping to get to a clip before too long. Here we go. I got it to work. Okay, we got a minute and a half, so we're going to go. We're going to go ahead and ring out with a new song from Eric Jerardi off his album Everybody's Waiting. Go to www.ericjerardi.com. One of the kick-ass blues rock guitarists from the Dayton area. This is called That Hole. Signing off and sayonara, as they say in Gaelic, Salancha.
I spend half my money on women and wine. The rest I wasted. The rest I wasted. I'm just waiting.